Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Lights Camera Discussion Podcast. We're back with the part two of Mr. Brad Bird. Guys, I think we enjoyed the first one. What did you think?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, good set of
Excellent.
films.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what we do with these films. So we spoke about Brad Bird and who he is, and if you obviously not seen that yet, go back and watch part one. But we're going to be talking about the other three the final three in his filmography as director. So Collie, let us know what the first film is we're going to talk about today.
So we are going to be talking about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is a 2011 action spy movie about Ethan Hunt and his IMF team trying to stop a terrorist named Cobalt from launching a nuclear war. Cobalt steals Russian nuclear launch codes from an IMF agent. The IMF is then blamed for a bombing at the Kremlin and disavowed by the US president. Ethan and his team must go undercover and clear their name with no help or contact from anyone.
Wow. Okay, first thoughts, Collie.
So for me, remember watching this in the cinema, massive fan of the series. Prior to this, definitely think 2 and 3 were a step down from 1 though, but Ghost Protocol was definitely a return to form. Absolutely loved it, like bigger stunts than before. I thought the story was really compelling. Tom Cruise being just the most Tom Cruise he'd been up until this point, I feel. Yeah, love this movie, and it was definitely one that revitalized the franchise and revitalized my love for the franchise.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's a fair change of pace for Mr. Bird, which I appreciate him doing that. I'd watched the Mission Impossible movies like all the way through. I think it was last year or so, and always quite liked this one. I thought it was pretty good. Like I tried this time to think about it just as a solo film, but there are other Mission Impossible films that I enjoy more, and I think maybe that swayed my sort of feelings towards it, which is what it is. But yeah, I think it's good. I think there's some really cool stunts, as there is in any Mission Impossible film, and I think Tom Cruise just is the boy. Like he's an absolute action star. So yeah, I had a good time with it. Todd?
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to the franchise in terms of I've seen Mission Impossible 1 and I think 2, and it wasn't until middle of last year, I believe, I've got it up here, where I basically went through them and caught up, and really enjoyed them. I don't know, I have a bit of and maybe it's just Tom Cruise as a bloke, and I've just kind of not, just been a bit of a weirdo. I'm happy to say that. You can come after me. But yeah, it wasn't my thing. I'm pleased I jumped into them, and because it's been a while since I've watched them as a franchise, it was nice to watch this on its own and just on its merits. I think it works as a standalone film. You don't need to know who the characters are because it sets it up nicely, which I'll get into as well. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so we can talk about the cast, and it isn't just a voice cast this time. It's actually actors acting with them as themselves. So obviously we've got Tom Cruise as the main character as Ethan Hunt. We've also got Jeremy Renner, Simon Pegg, Paula Patton. It's a really solid cast. Lea Seydoux, of course, as well. Collie, thoughts on the cast? I know what stood out to yourself and what they did.
I thought a standout for me was Jeremy Renner being added to the cast of the Mission Impossible films. Having seen him in this was 2011, so Avengers wasn't out until the following year. But seeing him in stuff like what was it prior to this, like The Town and that maybe.
Hurt Locker.
So only seen him in Hurt Locker, stuff like that. So seeing him in kind of Hollywood action films, I thought he was able to bring a bit more character to this one. I thought the kind of twist of him being, the agent that was supposed to be looking after Tom Cruise and his family, and he thought he'd be the one that had let his wife get murdered and stuff like that. Then the twist was, oh no, that was all a setup and stuff. I thought that was quite interesting. I thought his interactions with Benji later on, when Benji's like, and I'll catch you, and he's just so unsure when he's going to get caught in that metal suit when they're going under the fans and stuff like that. I thought that was really good. And then him trying to psych himself up to jump off and down into the tunnel, but I thought that was really good. So it was a bit of humour about him as well. So Jeremy Renner was a standout for me, but loved Simon Pegg as Benji. Just a good like layer of comedy in what is a kind of, you know, serious quote unquote action film. I think Simon Pegg brought that to it, and he subsequently got involved with the writing of the later ones. I think alongside, obviously, this was around the time that he was getting more involved with the writing of the Star Trek films as well, going more comedic for them. So I did enjoy his input to it. And then even, I thought Josh Holloway popping up as the agent at the start was quite cool. I always think, oh yeah, that's Sawyer. I've never really seen him in much else apart from Lost, so it was good to see him pop up in this, like, what, 14 years ago when the first film first came out. I thought Paula Patton was really good. I thought she was utilised pretty well. I thought she wasn't like a damsel in distress at any point. She was a very, like, headstrong woman, and obviously she gets her way eventually when she gets to kick Leah Seydoux out of the Burj Khalifa. I thought was quite cool, because I always wanted her to get her comeuppance, and it was cool that she got to get absolutely hoofed out the window, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, top to bottom, really good. And like I said, Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise, as much as I agree with you, Todd, when he's a bit of a strange guy. For me, like, you know, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, like, there's no better action star to lead a film than Tom Cruise in Hollywood, and it's been like that for, well, at least 20 years now. I know he's been around a lot longer than that, but it was the last 20 years. I think, like, nobody really touches him when it comes to that bit of, you know, like action star. But I think he brings that kind of quality to it as well. He's not like a Jason Statham or a Liam Neeson of recent years for some reason. That kind of thing. He brings that bit of gravitas and a bit of prowess, I guess, to action films. Out with the Mission Impossible series, but in this, I think he kind of brings me back into rooting for Ethan Hunt. Number 2 and 3, I can kind of take him or leave him. Love him in number 1, but again, kind of what I said in my first thoughts on this film, this really brought me back into loving the franchise.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right with Tom Cruise. He's like the last of, like, the proper action, like, big budget action stars. And I think, yeah, you know, he's had his off sort of like screen controversies and things as well. But I think at this point, you kind of have to accept that that's who he is, and maybe separate him as a person from him as the actor kind of thing. But yeah, I think he's great in the Mission Impossible films and as an action star. Yeah, I totally agree with what you said about Paula Patton. One of my notes here is Paula Patton is a goddess. So yeah, that was one of the first things that I wrote. I thought she was phenomenal. I thought Leah Seydoux was a bit wasted for me, to be fair. Like, she obviously popped up at the start, and I thought it was quite the back and forth that she had with the sort of when dealing with diamonds and stuff was quite interesting. But I just thought that she was maybe just a bit wasted. But it makes sense. There's loads of stuff going on, which I totally appreciate.
This was one of our first big Hollywood roles, though.
Oh, was it?
She
Okay.
was like in Inglourious Bastards, like, just popping up. But I think she was transitioning from, like, French film
Right
to Hollywood at this point. I think this was one of our first ones. So, like, the Leah Seydoux that we know now, it isn't the one from 15 years ago or whatever.
Fair.
So I totally agree that she could have done more, because that's only because we know that she could do
we know
more
what she
now.
does now. Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't appreciate that. It was the move from French films or foreign films into this. So no, it's fair enough. Yeah, I agree. Jeremy Renner, I thought he was fantastic. I thought it was him and Tom Cruise that were the two sort of highlights for me acting wise. I thought they were great, and the interactions where Ethan Hunt is just starting to work out that Brant's more than what he maybe has let on. I thought was really good. But yeah, I think the cast did their things right. Again, not trying to think of it as like a part of a franchise, but I probably enjoyed some of the performances, like Simon Pegg's, more later on in the franchises. But I thought he was absolutely fine here. So yeah, that was the sort of acting for myself. Todd, was there anything that stood out for yourself?
Yeah, I don't know if people are aware, but I'm a fan of Simon Pegg and the work that he does, and that sort of like goof. No, there's an episode you should listen to. We call it, you know, but yeah, the whole thing at the beginning, and we'll talk about tone and stuff of the film, because I do think it shifts, but it shifts quite nicely. But when Tom Cruise is like signaling to him to open, like you can't hear him, but he's signaling it, and he's like, I know what this means, but I'm not going to do it. Like that sort of back and forth between them two was really nice. But again, he nails the sort of the more serious side of things as well. Do you know what I mean? He hits that with Ethan, and I thought that was really cool. Like you say, Paula Patton. The only thing I knew her from previously, off the top of my head, was Mirrors. Which is a schlocky as all hell horror, but I enjoyed it. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, but I thought like she was like a nice surprise in this, in terms of, because I'd only seen her in that, I didn't expect it to be in some like big budget. It is a blockbuster, and I think that's the big difference here. Is like you say, Léa Seydoux was in Inglourious Bastards, and I know it's an epic, and I know it's a perfect film, but is it for everybody? And I don't think Inglourious Bastards is. Whereas like this is, get everybody to the cinema, get your mates, all that kind of thing. But yeah, again, I feel like I'm just echoing, but it was just top to bottom. There wasn't a weak performance in it. Everybody kind of held their own, very like distinct characters. Say Jeremy Renner as Brant was really good as well. I don't think there's anybody. Oh, Anil Kapoor as the
He was
guy
so
in the
good.
Oh,
yeah, amazing. Like that snidey, like slimy, and when they're in the little sort of corridor bit, and the waiter comes in, and she's just like snapped his arm round, and then like he kisses her hand. That was fantastic. Like he did a cracking job. Yeah.
It's the bit when he like tiptoes towards the bed and he like takes his shoes off and it's like deet, deet, deet. I thought that was so funny. And like even earlier on when he's at the bar and he's like, I want everyone to go home with a bottle of their own and stuff, obviously trying to impress Paula Patton. I thought that was really, really good.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone else cast wise that stood out for yourselves?
I thought Bogdan was quite funny, but I think he was supposed to be outwardly funny. Like, didn't do too much, but I thought he was good, like in the prison. And then later on, when he's introducing him to his cousin, that's the arms dealer or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's his cousin, and Ethan's just like, "Oh, you're an arms dealer," and he's like, "Oh, not really." He's like an international war consultant or whatever he changes the words to be. So I thought, like, it's just a bit of a comedic thing, because obviously prior to this we've discussed Sam Mendes' like James Bonds, and yeah, they've got like cheesy like funny bits, but Mission Impossible I would say is like more outwardly funny of a franchise than James Bond, and I think like Ghost Protocol nails it on the head really when it comes to that.
Good stuff. Okay, so obviously we spoke about animation before, but there's none of that in here. So how about talk about the action scenes? There's obviously some pretty big ones. Any standouts for yourself, Collie?
I mean, like the stunts in The Burge are just top tier. Like the fact that it's actually Tom Cruise swinging about outside it is nuts. But it's not so much like an action sequence in terms of stunt work and stuff. But I think the whole Kremlin sequence is really good. I love him and Benji going in, and Benji's like so excited. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm in the field! I'm in the field!" And then there's the bit when they've got like the fake wall and the little like drip thing. I think that's just really, really, really funny. And again, I keep talking about the comedy, but it's the bit when Benji stands in front of the camera and his head's like massive in the hallway, and then it just in time you see Ethan like push his head out the way. I thought that was class. And I remember watching it for the first time, that you think that they've got away with escaping. Obviously, like the mission's been sabotaged or whatever. They're escaping. I think that bit where he takes his jacket and turns it inside out, and I thought that was really, really cool. And then the fact that there is an explosion at the Kremlin, I thought that was really, really well done. Like you see the floor like rumble. I thought that as a like special effect was really, really good. But the standout stunt is the Burge. Like it's what everyone talked about when the film was coming out and still talks about it now. But was there anything that stood out for you, Todd, in terms of action sequences?
Yeah, again, I can't. I think the opening scene with Ain't That a Kick in the Head? Not sorry, it's not the opening scene, but the introduction to Ethan in this film. Yeah, was amazing. Like had that sort of almost old boy about it, like that sort of tracking down the corridor for a little while, which was really cool. But yeah, the Burge, and do you know what? And I apologise because I'm wrong, and I can hold my hands up when I am. That when I'd sit in like, oh, this time Tom Cruise is climbing up the Burj Khalifa. I was like, oh, is he really? Oh, good for it. Like, I was such a wanker about it, and I apologise because I was just like, oh, he doesn't need to, but obviously he does because it makes it so much better. Like, it's so impressive. And again, that moment of comedy, is he like the rope's a little bit too short? And he's like, yeah, you think? Like, no shit. And he has to jump. And there's moments that are predictable and not in a bad way, like in a sort of this is what you want to happen in an action sequence, that kind of thing. Like you knew the gloves were going to break. You knew that was going to happen to add that extra bit of tension. He was never going to be climbing perfectly. But in that moment, because of the way Tom Cruise is and the way that he deals with his stunts, you don't know what's going to happen when he jumps to that window. Yeah, but like the choreography, I even thought the scene where they trading for the diamonds and stuff, and that like backwards and forwards between the rooms, I thought that was really well done as well. Yeah, just a really well shot film and hit the right notes.
Good stuff. Yeah, there were some bits that I quite enjoyed. Obviously, like what you guys have said there, but the sandstorm was quite cool. The way that it kind of like goes, you almost are with him in terms of visibility. Like you can only see what he can see at points, which I thought was a really interesting part. Some parts are a bit strange in it, but yeah, I thought that was pretty well done.
Classic
I really
Tom Cruise running in that
yes.
scene.
I mean, there was like because there was like I think it was 3 or 4 moments that he is just absolutely sending it, like just sprinting. And
one cool shot. Sorry, just about the sandstorm before you make the other ones is when he's running like towards the camera and you see the reflection of the sandstorm like in the building as he's running away from the building and he's like running into it. I thought that was really really cool.
Yeah, well, definitely. It always gets me of the like it's a meme I've seen on TikTok of that where it's that scene and then it's it's when you're what is it? It's like when your dad's phone goes off and it says like plumber or something like that, and so it's like you running away from it. I always caught me. I always find that really funny.
Guess you kind of had to be there with that.
You had to be there kind of moment. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I like that. Yeah, Burj Khalifa will stand out, and then I agree with the sort of the diamond sort of standoff kind of trade off sort of thing, and how. Like this is where when Léa Seydoux was looking into his eyes and seeing like the contact lens that he was wearing and stuff. I thought that was like really cool. I wanted more of that from her and stuff. But yeah, I thought it's Mission Impossible. It's going to be these big standout kind of action scenes and again for it to be directed by Brad Bird, who we'd seen doing just animated films before, I thought was interesting. One of the things as well that I kind of noticed that he's obviously taken from his sort of cartoon stuff was, I don't know if you guys may notice as well, but like when they're fighting, like the punches and the kicks sound really cartoony. Like it's like pow and kercha and like it was one of the things that I kind of tuned into, certainly from the start as well with at the prison. But I kind of appreciated that. I thought it was like an interesting way to add to the action scenes and make it a bit more cartoony and stuff. So yeah.
Just on that, like I've not really thought about it, but with animation, you're unlimited in what you can do in terms of like action and in terms of it being over the top and silly. So for him to be able to kind of almost temper himself a little bit and be able to go like, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do, must be so difficult because you've obviously got that style where you've got a giant robot, you've got like shape-shifting humans and stuff. Like it just. That's credit to Brad Bird that he can switch between the two so easily, and maybe his pedigree in animation has been that kind of like that. He's had that experience of molding those scenes bit by bit as he then brought that into live action. But yes, I agree. I see. I didn't think about it, but now you've said it, and that sort of like like those noises they hitting do make sense that they are quite cartoony. Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to chat about with Ghost Protocol? Any other bits and pieces? Any interesting tidbits or no?
Oh, good for me.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's score it. So I'll get mine out of the way first. I'm sure you guys will probably roast me for it, but I give it 3.5. Maybe it should be a 4, but yeah, 3.5. All for Paul Patton. Paul Patton, sorry. Collie, what did you give?
It's a 4.5 for me.
Fair enough. Todd?
So I bumped mine up on a rewatch. So I went from a 4 to a 4.5. I'll never give it 5, mainly because of that. The noise. I know why they have to do it, but the noise that the gloves make really pissed me off. It honestly took me out. I was like, stop it. turn the gloves off, let him fall. It's not why I lost half a star. It's not why I lost half a star, but he did piss me off. Yeah, 4.5 stars for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, on to the next film, Collie.
So the next film is Tomorrowland, which was subtitled A World Beyond. In some regions, is a 2015 American science fiction film. The plot follows a disillusioned genius inventor and a teenage science enthusiast who embark to an intriguing alternate dimension known as Tomorrowland, where their actions directly affect their own world.
Ooh. Okay, first thoughts, Collie.
So I remember seeing this in the cinema. I was quite intrigued by it. I remember enjoying it at the time, but not loving it, and that's pretty much where I am now. I think it gets a bit of a harsh rap for me. I think when you if you watch the film in situ and you don't know who directs it, and it's one of those, like Disney just pump it out kind of films, then fair enough. I think if this came out nowadays, I don't know if this would just be a direct to Disney Plus type movie, perhaps, maybe. But yeah, I enjoy it. I would say I don't actively dislike it. It's definitely nowhere near the quality or heights of Brad Bird's other films. But I would still say it's a solid film. I think the acting performances are good. I think the CGI is really good. I think some of the action sequences are class as well.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I'd seen a tweet before where someone said this is now on BBC iPlayer. It's like an incredible film full of wonder and blah blah blah. So I started watching it, and I turned it off after a while because I just got a bit bored. So it was interesting to watch this in full as part of this, and it felt to me like a direct Disney Plus or like a Disney Channel original kind of movie. At some points, like the CGI, which you touched on, was really good. But other points, just the writing and stuff just felt a bit lackluster for me, which was a shame. But there were some things to like about it, and yeah, I liked some things. I didn't like probably quite a bit more of it, but yeah, it was okay for what it was. Todd?
Yeah. So I rewatched it yesterday. I didn't log it. I was trying to find it. I was like, I definitely watched it. I was a little bit tired yesterday, so I haven't logged it again on Facebook, on Letterboxd. I'm not even on Facebook. And basically, I love elements of it. There is so much of it to enjoy, and then as you're starting to get into it and you start enjoying it, it feels like it just shits the bed. And then sorry, not shits the bed. Paint by numbers. Let's call it that. It feels a little bit more paint by numbers.
Are you
What?
right?
Sorry. No, I'm having a bad day. I'm having a bad day. No, yeah, it's not as bad as that, but it just feels very generic. And again, I don't think I'm the target audience for it. And there's some things where you're not the target audience and you can enjoy it all the same. Ratatouille is the example. But yeah, the performances again, decent, solid. One in particular stood out for me, and I know we'll get to them. I feel like it would be better on a rewatch, on another rewatch, on subsequent rewatches. But at the same time, I don't know if I can be asked doing that. Do you know what I mean? Stuck between a rock and a hard place with it.
Totally. Okay. Let's talk about some of the cast then. So we've got George Clooney, Britt Robertson, Hugh Laurie, Rafi Cassidy, Catherine Hahn, Keegan-Michael Key, Hugh Laurie, of course, as well. Thoughts? Was anyone that stood out to yourself, or what were your thoughts on them, Collie?
I thought George Clooney was very George Clooney. Right in his wheelhouse, I feel.
Sorry.
Right in his wheelhouse. This film, to be honest. So I thought he was quite charming at times. I thought he played the kind of paranoid genius inventor, that first interaction that they've got in the house between him and Casey. Britt Robertson, I thought was really, really good. Standout for me overall, though, was Hugh Laurie. I thought him as David Nix, I thought was excellent. Just so outwardly dastardly, I guess, for lack of a better term. I thought he was quite clearly a baddie from the first conversation, especially when they get to Tomorrowland and he's immediately there in his ship. He's pretty much just what the fuck are you guys doing here? But I thought he was brilliant. I love Hugh Laurie anyway. I thought Britt Robertson was really good, and I thought Rafi Cassidy as well as Athena, both solid. I'd only seen Britt Robertson in Under the Dome, which was out a year or two before this, the Stephen King adaptation, the TV show, and I thought she was excellent in that. So I was looking forward to. I remember looking forward to seeing this because this was one of her first films that I would have been seeing. And I thought she was good in it. It was good to see Keegan Michael Key pop up as well at one point, and Catherine Hahn as the kind of the store owners. I thought that was quite cool. Kind of underutilized a little bit, but I guess like it's they were just there to serve that purpose of that was their scene and that was it. They weren't higher on the bill for reasons, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was similar to all of his films. I think he's always got a really, really good cast. But I think you touched on it, Todd. The writing, I think, is where this film falls over more than anything. But we can come back to that after you guys have said your thoughts on the cast.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think there's like you say, there's bits of it that are like the cast that are or their performances are really good, and there's some casts that are great, and there's some casts that maybe just aren't quite there for me. But like George Clooney, it almost felt a bit like he was there for a paycheck sort of thing, which I don't grudge him for it. If you're getting paid millions to do something, then you may as well do it. Hugh Laurie for me was definitely a standout. I thought he was fantastic. I really enjoyed his performance. Rafi Cassidy was a weird one for me because some points I was like, oh, she's like this actually really charming like character, and the other points I was like, just settle down, like you're doing a bit too much kind of thing. I mean, she's obviously that's maybe her character is meant to do that, but it kind of took me out a little bit. I agree with Catherine Hahn and Keegan Michael Key were completely underutilized. I thought they were like one of the best parts of it. I was creasing the whole time that they were on screen, and I wish it would seen more of them, even as antagonists. If we'd seen a bit more of them throughout the film, I would have been much happier with that. But yeah, it just felt almost like a missed opportunity with the cast, and yeah, it was a shame. I think some of the performances there. So yeah, Todd.
Yeah, so the standout for me was Britt Robertson. I don't think I've seen it in anything, and if I have, she hasn't really stood out in the same way. I thought she was fantastic. I thought she kind of, again, sort of that teenager hit the balance of, being a bit of a rebel and being super intelligent, or at least in terms of computers and stuff. And was just, yeah, really solid performance. Had chemistry with everybody in the, right the way across the board. The bit with Keegan Michael Key and Catherine Hahn, it made me cringe. Like, it made my whole body turn in on itself. I hated it, and I don't know why. And I love those two as actors, as characters that they've done before. That I hated it. Like I said, I wrote my first note that was George Clooney voice, and I've bookended watching South Park the movie with watchers of this film, and where he's like, when Kenny's dying, he's like, "Sew 'em up. We've done all we can." Like, it's that really George Clooney voice, and that's what it started with. Hugh Laurie, great villain. Like you say, he was playing the panto villain from the beginning, but playing it perfectly. The other one I hated was the androidy robot guy, like the agent, where he's like smiling the whole time. And I was just like, we get it, You're not human. Like, you don't have to keep just pushing and pushing like that. I thought that was a bit much. But the core cast, like as in George Clooney and Britt Robertson, did a good job. Somebody on Letterboxd, so I try not to look at Letterboxd reviews until after I've watched them. But somebody was like, "This cements Cassie Rafferty as the best child actor," and I was like, just slow your roll a little bit. Like, she was good. Wasn't necessarily, out of this world. But yeah, I thought I thought the performances were good, but I think there was bits of it that could have been better.
It's funny. Sorry, just you were saying Britt Robertson hadn't been. She's in Scream 4, which I watched the other day. She's one of the last that dies right at the start of Scream 4. So it was like early on in her career, so it was only a bit part character to get killed in Scream 4. And then Rafi Cassidy was in The Brutalist.
Yes,
she was Sophia in The Brutalist.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't realize until I rewatched Tomorrowland for this. So all our podcast world coming together, I guess, when it comes to that. But
synergy.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, do you want to touch on the writing then? I know obviously you guys have said a bit of potential where it falls down. Was there anything that stood out writing wise? Maybe that sort of stood out.
I don't even think for me like anything stood out. It just felt really disjointed at times. It just didn't feel. It wasn't even like the story I thought was really good. Like the actual concept of the story was really good, but just some of the lines in that, like there's nothing that really stood out in particular. But just sometimes you were just like I don't think I didn't really put it down to the acting, but maybe it was partly that. It was just like some of the conversations were just like, right, you say something, I say something, you say something, I say something. It didn't really flow very well, and it's weird because like it's Brad Bird that wrote it and David Lindelof who wrote it as well, who's like really known for his scripts and stuff like Prometheus, Star Trek Into Darkness. He did the Watchmen TV series. Did he previously do Lost stuff like that? Like he's a really well-known person for writing. He wrote The Hunt the other year with Emma Roberts and that in it as well. So, like, he's a good writer, but I don't know. I don't know really what they did there. They kind of phoned it in a little with this film, perhaps. And that's really what cost the film for me because I thought, for a positive thing on it, the sequence with the Eiffel Tower opening up, I thought was just class. I remember seeing that in the cinema at the time, and then even rewatching it. I was just like in awe with it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really well done.
That's the thing. I think there's like highs and lows. Like it feels tonally like weird. Like just it at one point it's like whimsical and kind of like fantastical, and then the next it's just like try to be pure comedy or try to be like pure melodramatic and things. Which it kind of skirted over too much tones for me. I mean, one of the things that kind of stood out as well, and I'm a big lover of like Disney and like Disneyland and stuff. Like I love that place. But like the first like 20 minutes or so of it was just like it was like a Disneyland commercial. It felt like they go on It's a Small World and they're in Tomorrowland and things, and it just felt out of place like with parts like that for me personally. Todd, anything to add? Or?
Just I think it sort of walked the wrong side of cheesy, and I know, like we said about like Iron Giant really hitting it, hitting that sort of the stride on the right side. But it's like there are two wolves and they are always fighting. One is darkness and despair. Like it feels like quotes. It feels like they've gone. Somebody's going to want to get that. Somebody's going to want that on their grave. Somebody's going to want that on it as a tattoo or whatever, and just wanted to put it in because that sounded good as a self-contained sentence. Where in the grander scheme of things, it sounded shit. And I think that's why I didn't like the bit in the shop, like with Keegan Michael Key and like Catherine Harmon, because it felt like every other bad guy in a kid sci-fi action film. And then when you say about being Tony all over the place, and it's not like the dialogue, but just the writing of the story, like the your man, the android, when he kills those people and makes them just disappear, and I was like, holy shit, what is it? Are we now going into like a horror film? Is this like where we are? But it did make me laugh where you put the pencil in the robot's like skull and it like clamped down. Like again, it's hits and misses. It's a film that is, and that's why I give it the rating that I did, because I do think it's a film of hits and misses. It nails some things and then shits the bed with the other.
Well, I mean, talking of hits, obviously the CGI was something that stood out for me. I thought like some of the sequences, as you said about the Eiffel Tower and things. I thought the CGI was really well done. Was there anything that you guys thought about the CGI and the kind of bits and pieces from there, Collie?
The action sequence when the agents arrive at George Clooney's house. And then they're chasing him throughout, and he's got all these traps and stuff. I thought that was really well done. And the bit when he magnetizes the wall, and the guy's getting really close to the gun, and then he blasts the wall away, and that's what lets them get escape. I thought that was really good. Just the various traps and stuff, and I thought it flowed really well that scene.
Mm-hmm. Todd?
Just Tomorrowland in general, like when they go there, like there's so much of it that looks so good, and especially the big. I love the robot that fixes the jetpack at the beginning. I thought that was like, again, it was stylized. It didn't try and be like hyper realistic. It worked really well. because like there was some of the CGI, like George Clooney on the jetpack later on, where he's like flying around. I was like, that's awful. Like it was dreadful. And he gets so much of it right. I love the world building. I love this place they've created in it. Yeah, like when young George Clooney, when the child is flying above them, above the the Knicks and all that kind of thing. I thought that looked really cool. And I don't know, maybe it was just a situational thing. I don't know, but yeah, it changed. But Tomorrowland was my highlight, just the actual world itself.
Fair enough. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with Tomorrowland? Are you happy enough with kind of what was spoken about?
Yeah, I'm happy enough to just score it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'll go first. So I scored it 2.5. Collie?
It was a 3 for me, and like I would feel wrong giving it anything lower, but I don't think it was like going to be stretching to a 3.5 for me. Even like after discussing it and rewatching it, that's probably as high as I would go. But I'm seeing like ones and stuff on Letterboxd, and I'm just like, that's way harsh for me.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the script or whatever, I think from a like we were talking about like the style and some of the performances and the action sequences and stuff, I think that's enough to warrant it to be a little bit higher than 1s and 1.5s, and then watch Todd say it's going to be a 1.
Todd?
It's a 2.5 for me. It's not quite a 1. Like I said, it's an average film where it gets so much right and then so much wrong, and there's very little in between. So I thought that was an appropriate place to put it. Slap bang in the middle.
Okie doke. Right, we're on to the final film from Brad Bird. Collie, what is it?
The final film we're going to be talking about today is Incredibles 2, a 2018 film. The sequel begins with the Incredibles and Frozone battling the Underminer and causing massive amounts of collateral damage. The federal government then shut down the secret superhero program. Upbeat benefactor and telecommunications tycoon Winston Dever and his sister Evelyn approach the Parr family to restore their tarnished public image. However, only Elastigirl will get to be the campaign's new face, and as a result, once popular Mr. Incredible now juggles his responsibilities as a parent at home, clearing the way for the invincible supermom to confront the city's latest mega villain.
Wow. Right. Collie, first thoughts.
Really, I remember going to see this in the cinema, and I've probably watched that a couple of times since. Really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that subsequently I've thought about it and maybe enjoyed it a little bit less. It is a retread of the first film, which I think a lot of people can criticize it for, and perhaps you guys will as well. But for me, there's enough new and different with it. There's enough time between the original film and the sequel that stuff has developed technology wise, so it's a bit bigger, and like we're talking about the character models, I do prefer it and stuff. One review or one video I watched, I think I might have linked it to you guys, saying like the Incredible series is the best and the worst of Pixar. The guy really hung on to a quote from Brad Bird, which was like, I'll only ever do a sequel to the Incredibles if there's a story worth telling. And the guy's criticism was, in 14 years is the only story worth telling, that the dad's now at home and the mum's the one that's going out to be a superhero. And I thought that was a bit of a harsh criticism. But for me, thoroughly overall enjoyed the film. Like I say, the animation and stuff was spot on. Great returning cast as well. Voice cast with a few new members as well.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I'd seen this on Disney Plus before, but I feel like the first one's so iconic. I remember that more. So it almost felt like a bit of a fresh watch with like some things that kind of like I sort of remembered. I felt like I remembered. But yeah, I do think that the sort of the retreading for me was the most obvious sort of like, not missed, because I don't think it missed, but the most obvious sort of like criticism that I personally had for it is that it kind of did a lot of the same things, but just sort of with an updated sort of look and stuff as well. But again, I enjoyed the film. I thought there was enough in it for me to be like, yeah, this is a fun time. And as you talk about with the first one, as you just touched on as well, I thought like it looked a lot better, and there was a lot of really interesting things that it did looks wise and story wise as well. There was a couple of things that I thought were a nice kind of addition to things. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. Spoiler, not quite as good as the first one, but yeah, I did enjoy it. Todd?
Yeah, I think it suffers from like when you play a sort of a sequel to a game, and you've got this incredible character who has all these powers, and then all of a sudden, oh, we've got to find a reason for them to lose their powers. At the end of the first one, it's like we all love superheroes and we want the Incredibles to be these amazing, and then oh, hang on a second, we've got to find a reason to hate them again. Like that's where my main issue, and like you say, retreading all ground. But what I don't like agree with, like you say, from some of the other stuff, is like the retreading of the family stuff. I think the retread and the family stuff works really well, especially given like Elastigirl, her sort of moment in the sun. Like you said, the first film was Mr. Incredible. Second film belongs to Elastigirl, with obviously everybody involved in it, and it gave a good chance for comedy. I thought it was class. Like I say, I don't think it was as good as the first one, and I think that's largely on story. But then animation wise and stuff, it was better. So it has its hits and its misses, but a lot more hits than misses.
Good stuff. So I mean, the main cast is basically returning. We have additions of Catherine Keener as Evelyn, Bob Odenkirk as Winston, but again we have obviously Samuel L. Jackson, Holly Hunter, Craig T. Nelson back. Was there anything that stood out for you with them? Did they do anything different that maybe kind of was good, or what do you think of the additions to the cast as well? So, Collie.
I thought the returning cast were excellent. It was quite cool to see them pick up those roles like 14 years later. Holly Hunter obviously being pushed more to the forefront as Helen. I think she stood up really well. But in terms of the additions, I mean, I love Bob Odenkirk, so I thought he was really, really good. Catherine Keener, kind of a returning person that we've discussed in the past as well. And then it was cool to see Jonathan Banks as Rick Dicker. It was Bud Lucky that voiced him in the first film, and he passed away, so they subsequently like dedicated the film to him and stuff. But I thought Jonathan Banks was excellent. Love him, obviously, as Mike in Breaking Bad universe. So the additions were really good and welcome additions, and also a lot of the extra people that were like the extra superheroes and stuff. Nobody really like stood out per se. Like Sophia Bush is Void. I thought she was quite good. As kind of a new standout, but yeah, just solid voice casting again, voice acting again. Bob Odenkirk probably my favorite of the new ones, but it's Samuel L. Jackson maybe out of everyone my favorite just because it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. It was weird seeing Catherine Keener, of course, going back to her mind control ways, as we've seen her in like Get Out and stuff as well. I thought that was kind of an interesting touch to things. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk as this kind of like he was like super positive, which was kind of strange. It almost felt like I wanted him to be like sarcastic as well, but he wasn't. He was like earnest the whole time, which was a kind of sort of different sort of take on things. Yeah, Sophia Bush for me out of the additional ones. Shout out for her, obviously being in One Tree Hill, which is one of the best TV shows of all time. I thought that she was a nice addition, and her power was interesting as well. Like I really like that power. And but you're right. I mean, Craig T. Nelson and Holly Hunter, it's like they never left. They just picked things up and carried on. Same with Samuel L. Jackson and of course Brad Bird as Edna Mode as well, returning to do his thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed. I don't think there was anyone that was added or anything that I thought like you're completely miscast. I thought it was absolutely spot on from top to bottom for me. Todd?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think return and cast were all brilliant. Like not that Holly Hunter didn't get a lot to do in the first one, because like I said, she was the main driving force behind like the family drama. But it was nice to see her get some moments when we talk about like action sequences and stuff. She'll obviously come up quite a bit because, like we say, it was her film. I just as soon as you again like Jennifer Aniston, when you hear a voice, you know it's her. As soon as Bob Odenkirk spoke, and I was like, yes, because this is the first watch for me. Like, I was just really excited to see him there. And the only issue that I have with Bob Odenkirk being so positive was that Catherine Keener's character was such a dick from the start. Like, where she's dumping all that stuff. I know it's not to do with the voice acting. She's dumping all the stuff on the guy that's helping her. Like, immediately you're like, hang on a second, she's not all right. Like, he's so happy to see them. There's something about her from the start. Like him singing the theme tunes and stuff, and you just see Bob Odenkirk having a good time with that. Yeah, I'm with you on Jonathan Banks being Rick Dicker. Like, again, that sort of character who could have been played by Josh Brolin or any of those kinds of characters. Jonathan Banks was spot on for it. Yeah, again, really well done by them all, especially the returning kids as well. Violet and Dash, I thought were really good. A little bit more growth. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we're back to animation. So, was there anything? Again, I know this is something that we kind of touched on with Incredibles one. That two animation was got better. But was there any sort of like standouts for yourself, Collie? On that sort of front.
I kind of what I touched on discussing number one. I thought the character models just looked a lot better. Still in that kind of like the whole setting, the retro futuristic stuff's great. I think the city is really cool and stuff like that. But just down to the character models, they look just a lot more solid and a lot more kind of what you touched on, Todd. Like they look like they're in scene. And I think a lot of that is to do with the technology. I don't think it's to do with like the quality of the animators per se. It was just they've managed to unlock the ability to visualize their idea probably a bit more in the 10 plus years since the original. So there was nothing that like made me go, oh my god, that's like never seen that before. But I just thought the quality kind of stepped up between the two films from an animation perspective.
Mm-hmm. There was one moment for me that was like, and it was a relatively small moment as well, but I thought it was so well done and actually like, super funny was when Jack was massive and he started going through walls, but he'd also got progressively smaller, so the holes got smaller as he went through. I thought that was great, like a really cool like touch of animation. I thought that was fantastic. The motorbike chase with the train and the way the motorbike comes apart and she uses her body to like to sort of help like as a parachute and things. I thought that was really well done as well. I thought that was fantastic. That sort of sequence as well. Those were sort of like standout bits for me from an animation standpoint. Todd?
Yeah, I think like little elements of it, like you say, because they've got more of an opportunity to like play around with it with better technology. Like Dash had what is famously referred to as a twat knot. Like he has that little. I didn't clock it on a first watch, but he's got like the little twat knot at the top, which I thought was really funny. And the vegetables, when they eating the food, and he's like, who ordered all vegetables? Like the way they fall out on the plate looked amazing. Like looked fantastic. One of the Elastigirl scenes I really liked was the door, the different doors where she's progressively going like stretching and she gets stuck in one door and then like bit by bit it shuts on her and it's like how she takes out each one. I thought that was really cool. But like going back to action sequences and being able to direct those action sequences, the helicopter, where she's like, can you swim? Three of them say yes, one of them says no, and she boots the three out, like outstretching her leg, keeps one in. I just thought it was, yeah, really well done and not messy. I think films like this have a tendency to get a bit sort of like all over the place. You don't see everything in detail. Where this, everything's clear, everything's well choreographed. Everything's planned out and animated well. And again, just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The Void. Talking about Void, and the fight between her and Violet, in between like the sort of force fields and the portals. Like I thought that was a bit of genius. Like it was just again, it's one power against another. It shouldn't work. Shouldn't work against each other, and it really did. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else that stood out for yourself, Collie?
No, I don't think so. I think I've covered everything, and definitely, like both of you mentioned, the Elastigirl sequences in this were a really welcome addition because I think like our powers were kind of underutilized probably in the first one. So it was good to see our expanded role, not just like from a storyline perspective, but even an animation perspective.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should say I did like that Bob and Helen had like two opposing views on the superhero like stuff towards the start as well. Like I thought that was written pretty well. It felt like Civil War really. Incredible Civil War it should have been. So yeah, I thought that was a good point. Todd, anything else you want to talk about with Incredibles, or are you happy enough with that?
No, happy with that.
No? All right, excellent. Well, let us get on to the scoring. So, Todd.
I went for a 4.
Collie?
4 for me as well.
Interesting. It's another unanimous 4 stars. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars as well. I thought again, first one was better, but I had an extremely good time with this one. Okay. So that is Brad Bird. There, are you wanting to do our rankings of his films then, and from 1 to 6? So well, Collie, this was obviously your episode, so on you go.
Yeah, so number one for me, like by far, is the Iron Giant, and then Ratatouille, Mission Impossible, Incredibles 1, Incredibles 2, and Tomorrowland.
Good stuff. I went Ratatouille, Iron Giant, Incredibles, Incredibles 2, Mission Impossible, Tomorrowland. Todd?
And I was Ratatouille, The Iron Giant, Mission Impossible, The Incredibles, Incredibles 2, Tomorrowland.
Good stuff. Excellent. Okay, well, that was Brad Bird. Our next episode was chosen by Todd. So, Todd, let us know who we're going to be discussing next.
It was on the next episode. I'm very excited that we will be watching Fede Alvarez.
Fede Alvarez. Interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Some horror for once on this.
Yeah, you want to run through what films they are then, Todd?
Finally, yes, of course.
Got it already, haven't you?
Yeah, of course I have. So, Fede Alvarez, we will be watching Evil Dead, the 2013 remake, prequel. I don't know what they referred to it as. Don't Breathe and Alien Romulus.
Good stuff. So a relatively short episode, which will be nice. But
it'll be relatively short until I'm allowed to speak, and then
exactly.
We'll see.
So what we'll do is me and Collie will do an episode, and you can just record yourself separately talking about it. It's
just a bonus episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, stick on Patreon. Worth paying for.
Okay, doke. Well, that is us done with Brad Bird. As the next one, we talk about is it Fede or is it Fede? Fede or Fede?
Fede, yeah, Fede Alvarez,
okay.
Yeah, Fede Alvarez.
Fede Alvarez and his 3 films. So, guys, thank you so much for watching again. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, hit subscribe, hit like, drop us a comment on what you thought about Brad Bird and his films. And if you're listening on Spotify, of course, remember to follow and give us a 5-star rating. But guys, we will see you in the next one. Take care and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye, guys. In a bit.